Hello, hello, hello to you, my entrepreneurial friends. This is Brian K McNeill, the sales confidence coach. You know, it has been said by people smarter than me that we will succeed or fail. Our lives will rise or fall in direct proportion to the people that we associate with and the books that we read. Is that true? That our lives get better or worse in direct proportion to the people that we associate with and the books that we read. I saw a thing by Les Brown just yesterday. He talked about his concept of a concept that someone taught him called OQP, meaning only quality people, only associating with quality people and the books that you read. The cool thing about the books that you read is you don't have to know the author personally, but you can get the author's insights, and they can become your de facto coaches and mentors. So now my name is Brian K McNeill, and a lot of you guys who know who I am, you've heard me tell the tale that by my own count, I've read more than 700 books on sales, sales management, and self-development. More than 700, and I know that's a conservative estimate because several of the books I read more than one time. Some of them I read 2 and 3 times, some even more than that. So I'm going to talk about some of the books that made all the difference. And I have several here, and I'm going to just take my time and have fun going through the books. Now, when I first got into selling, I was 23 years old. I'm now 54. I'll be 55 this calendar month. When I got into selling it, I was 23 years old, didn't have no idea what selling was. And the company's training program was hang in there. And I was dying. I was not doing well. I was low on the totem pole. I was not succeeding. I was a straight commission job and I was failing. I was not making any money. Until I'll never forget, it was one hot day in August. I was in Wake Forest, North Carolina, and there was this used bookstore there. And I wandered into the used bookstore just to get out of the heat because I wanted the used bookstore's air conditioning. And I ended up in the business section of books, and I ended up picking a book up on selling, and I had never even thought it was a book on selling. But the first book I got was this one right here. It's called How to Master the Art of Selling by Tom Hopkins. How to Master the Art of Selling by Tom Hopkins. Now, I picked up this book and started leafing through it. And on page 14 of this book, it talks about why you can't fail in the field of selling. Why you can't fail in the field of selling. How you doing? And at the time I read that little blurb, that was the most important thing for me. I needed somebody to tell me why I couldn't fail because I felt like a failure. I felt like a loser. And this book told me why I couldn't fail. I could not fail if I just do the stuff I was supposed to do. So, and his picture's on the cover of the book. So I bought this book with my lunch money that day. And this picture on the cover of the book and the words that are in this book became my de facto sales manager. So whenever I had time in between sales calls, every day before work, I was reading the book for at least 30 minutes. And as I turned the pages of this first book on selling, I started to get more confident in my ability to sell. And I started to sell more. So my first book on selling, and this is one of the books that I think make all the difference. That was my first book on selling. And after I finished this book, I bought another book on selling. And it was called Secrets of Closing the Sale by Zig Ziglar. Secrets of Closing the Sale was my second book on selling. And it introduced me to the concept of closing a sale. A closed sale is actually getting the money in exchange for the service, getting the final agreement. And I read that book and I got introduced to the concept of closing sales. That was revolutionary thought for me. And the third book I had, I wish I had one in my hand. It's a real thin one right now. It's called The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino. The Greatest Salesman in the World by Og Mandino. A little thin book. And Og is spelled O-G. And last name is M-A-N-D-I-N-O. That little book, I think, does the most or the best job of preparing an entrepreneur to be great. Mentally preparing you. It doesn't teach you selling tactics or anything like that, but it teaches you the mindset. And it's biblically based, but it teaches you the mindset you must have in order to be a successful entrepreneur or a successful salesperson. But as I turned those pages, I got more confident. My chest started to swell and my income started to swell. I started to make more money. And then I kept going. I just read a page at a time. I just kept going. One of the early books that I read that I still have here is a book called Hardball Selling by Robert L. Shook. Hardball Selling. Now, again, this is in the early 90s. Hardball Selling introduced me to the concept of no maybes, only accepting either a yes or a no. And I don't think you can sell like that today, but back then I could. No maybes. Let them know that no is an okay answer, but I'm going to ask for a yes or a no. This book right here took me from mediocre to a sales rock star. I started closing at a much higher level. Just the concept of asking for a yes or a no and not leaving any opportunities without at least asking for a yes or a no. That's what I did. I learned that from this book by Robert L. Shook. And I kept going. There's another classic book that's on my list of, I wrote a report called The 10 Greatest Books on Selling. The Master of the Art of Selling was down there, but this book here too, How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Selling by a guy named Frank Bedker. This is an old book, okay, but How I Raised Myself from Failure to Success in Selling by Frank Bedker. This book did a lot for me, and it basically sums it up this way. If you ramp up your enthusiasm level, if you ramp up your energy level, if you act as if you're enthusiastic, if you go for it with energy and with passion, if you do your work with energy and passion, no lollygagging, no meandering, just do it with full gusto. You will raise yourself from failure. Do everything with energy. That's what it talked about in this book here. And that did it for me. Now, again, this book right here was another favorite of mine, The Art of Closing Any Deal by James W. Pickens. I don't even have the cover. And I'm not sure if this is my first edition, first or second, but mine is really, really highlighted. Okay, really highlighted. This talks about just closing the sale, how to overcome objection. The whole book is about that. It's really, really highlighted for me. This is like a resource book. But this book talks about the 15 most common customer objections and 45 closing response to them. It gives you the 10 best sales closes ever. It also does a job of talking about closing to different people from their ethnicities and their age ranges and their professions. It breaks down, like, for example, Black people, the difference between selling to young Black people versus older Black people. And even breaks it down to that in that way. Selling to professions, like selling to a school teacher versus selling to someone in the military. How do you sell to these different professions? All of that is in this book right here. And I'm sure some of it is outdated, but it made a difference to me at the time. And people who would always ask me, why do you read so many books on selling? And I never looked at it that way. I just looked at it as a page at a time. And I'm just going to keep going. I got a bunch here. I'm going to just keep going. There's another book, very, very comprehensive. The Bestseller by Forbes Lee. I actually met Forbes Lee. This book covers everything, every aspect of how to sell. This is a whole lot. This got more content than almost every book. Just reading the titles of these things. Overview, attention, desire, close, trial close, objections and understanding, objections, answering objections, motives, price, attitudes, and every one of those have a lot of stuff in it. So this book right here is not for a beginner in entrepreneurialism or selling. This was someone that's kind of advanced. A lot of you guys would have heard of this one, The Ultimate Sales Machine by Chet Holmes. What a fantastic book, talking about how to be a teacher instead of just a salesperson or an entrepreneur, teaching some things, but also systematizes how you do your business. This is another one of those books that should be read again and again and again, if you're willing to. Now, you guys have the option of either just keep reading the books yourself, or you can work with someone who actually did read the books, absorb that knowledge, plus actually practice in the field of making sales themselves. So when you're reading books on selling and actually selling yourself, you develop a philosophy. You develop your own philosophies. So these are books that I've read and I've gleaned from, and then I put into actual practice and I learned some stuff from. Here's another one. Women make the best salesmen. Women make the best salesmen. Now, why would this man buy a book called Women Make the Best Salesmen? And it's such a great little read, too. This book was written by a lady named Marion Luna Brem. I like this book a whole lot because women make the best salesmen. Why? Because women find it more natural to nurture, natural to stay in touch. And they actually tend to do what they say they're going to do. Women make the best salesmen because they will follow up and they will nurture relationships better, typically. Is what this book is summarizing. And I like the story, too. And I'm going to keep going. Our next one here is Selling the Invisible by Harry Beckwith. Oh, my God. Another essential book. If you sell an intangible product where they don't get to hold something, like a coaching services, any kind of services, coaching, counseling, financial services, any of those things. They're selling something that's invisible. You got to sell it through the story. This book has a lot of little chapters in it. You can go through it at a fun pace. You Inc., an absolute treasure of a book. You Inc., another book with very short chapters, but a lot of content. Way better than I thought it would be. A lot of these books, you don't see the cover on them because I tended to always take the covers off because they don't feel good in my hand sliding around. So I just take the covers off with the intention of putting the covers back on at some point. How you doing, Arthur Lynette? What's up, girl? I'm just talking about some of the books that I think make all the difference. This next book here, Endless Referrals Changed My Life. Endless Referrals by Bob Berg. How to get a rich supply of referred business. Endless Referrals is another what I consider essential book on how to sell. This book, network with your everyday contacts into sales. The concept of getting endless referrals. I'm telling you, it changed my whole income when I first read this book. Endless Referrals was another one of those books that you got to read. You just got to read. I got to go and do not disturb because I forgot. Okay, cool. All right, another one, Endless Referrals by Bob Berg. Again, you could read all these books yourself, or you can just take my word for it. I got a few more that I want to share with you guys. There used to be a magazine called Selling Power. It's still online. Selling Power is best. These are little short workshops. Really, really impactful, especially if you manage other entrepreneurs or manage other salespeople. We come to some of my favorites now. Money Talks, How to Make $1 Million as a Speaker by Alan Weiss. Alan Weiss is like the godfather. Everyone refers to his stuff. Money Talks. One of the best things I got out of this book is the people that pay you, they speak a different language than the people that just enjoy you. The people that enjoy your speeches and you enjoy being around you, they don't even want the same thing as the people that pay you. The people that pay you, they care a whole lot more about what they're left with after you're done. The people that just enjoy you, they want to have a good time. They want to not be bored. They want to pick up a nugget or two. But the people that actually give you money, they care about what are they going to be left with after you're done. You got to give them a preview of coming attractions. So after we finish doing what we're doing, you're going to have this, or you're going to be able to do this, or you're going to get this result or that result. You got to be able to speak a different language to the people that pay you versus the people that enjoy you. Got a few more I'm going to cover. Another treasure, Selling for Dummies by Zig Ziglar. This book, again, is really, really comprehensive, but very, very simple. Selling for Dummies. You will learn a lot of stuff, especially if you're new to entrepreneurialism or new to sales. This is another really, really good book that'll kind of give you a jump start. I had a lot of fun with this book here, Selling with Magic. Selling with little simple magic tricks you can do to sell. I don't even try to do magic as I sell anymore, but I did for a season. Now we're down to the finals. Oh, To Sell is Human. This is a modern book here. To Sell is Human. You've got to get this book, or at least talk about this book, or watch YouTube videos on this book. To Sell is Human. It introduces you to the new ABCs of selling. The new ABCs of selling. The ABCs of selling used to be, good morning, Sister Trivoli. The ABCs of selling used to be always be closing, but you can't sell like that anymore. You can't close any sales unless you can open them. Okay, which means establish a reason to talk to them, give them a good reason to listen to you, give them a good reason to respect you and understand what you got. You got to be able to open it first because everyone gets bombarded by so much solicitation and so much new information. But the new ABCs of selling: attunement, buoyancy, and clarity. And this book does a great job of helping you to understand the way people buy today. Now, all those books were significant to me. I wrote that report back in 2012, the best books on selling, but I had to augment my list because now we come to the final three books, the final three. One of them is called The Shortcut. This book is only 74 pages long. That's it. The Shortcut. It's written by a guy named Brian K McNeill. He looks a lot like me, sounds a lot like me. He is me. This book, I believe, does the very best job of teaching entrepreneurs what to do this month so that they make more money next month. This book is a lot of cake and very little frosting. If you will just do what this book says do, you'll make more money next month than you will do this month. This book will do that for you again and again and again. This is a shortcut book. This book, that's why I called it The Shortcut with an exclamation point. This is for people who don't have time to understand a whole lot of concept. You need to make money now. The Shortcut by Brian K McNeill, I consider an essential read and one of the best books on selling. And I can say that because I'm an authority on books of selling because I've read so many of them. This book right here is an essential GAT. If you're an entrepreneur today and you want to ensure that you make more money next month than this month, get The Shortcut by Brian K McNeill. Now, The Shortcut teaches you what to do, just what to do. It doesn't cover overcoming objections or closing sales or none of that stuff. So to that end, I recommend this book, Asking for the Money. Asking for the Money. And the subtitle is How Anyone Can Close More Sales, Even You. This is also written by Brian K McNeill. This book does a great job, a phenomenal job of helping entrepreneurs to know what to say and what to do before they tell their rates, what to say and what to do when they tell their rates, what to say and what to do if they get a little bit of resistance, or what to say and what to do if they get a lot of resistance. This book is longer than The Shortcut. This infuses the reader with confidence when it comes time to that presentation, which so many entrepreneurs don't like, but they have to ask for the money. That's why it's called that, asking for the money. How anyone can close more sales, even you. The readers of this book feel super confident. The reviews on this book are amazing. People say they get the chance to understand the author, but they also feel much more confident. With this book, when clients give you lame objections, like let me think about it or can't afford it, you'll swat those things away like an annoying fly. And get away, and it'll get away. Because most objections are really easy to handle. And this book teaches you how to ask for the money, and how to close the sale and get more money. So these two books right here, I think are essential today in 2022. Entrepreneurs got to have them. And the last book I'm going to review today is this book here, Why Rhinos Make Great Salespeople, featuring Mr. Randall the Rhino. Why Rhinos Make Great Salespeople, featuring Mr. Randall the Rhino. I have rhinos in all over my home because rhinos are kind of like my spirit animal. But let me just tell you why rhinos make great salespeople. It's metaphors. This is a good rhino here. And I have several rhinos here. I got them in my living room. I got them everywhere. But anyway, a rhino is physically strong. It's physically strong, which I equate to being determined. If you're determined, you're going to succeed. Rhinos have really, really good hearing. Really good hearing, which I equate to being great listeners. Rhinos have poor eyesight. They can't see very well. Okay, they're very nearsighted, which I equate to not even noticing little things that can get in the way. But the rhinos, they have these, this was a two-horn rhino. Some rhinos have one horn, but this is a two-horn rhino. And I use the horns to indicate your goals. Now, notice the way the rhino's horns are positioned on its head. So no matter what direction the rhino looks, it has to look past its horns. The first horn it sees is the little horn, which I equate to the little goals that you got to accomplish in order to get to your big horn or your big goals. So you always keeping your goals in front of you. You always are seeing past your goals. Everything you do has to be filtered through your current goals. That's what I equate the horns to. But the coolest thing about the rhino is the way their legs work. Because the way a rhino's legs work, rhinos cannot walk backwards. They just can't. The legs don't work like that. They could stop, they could turn around, but they don't walk backwards. They can get pushed backwards if they're in a fight with an elephant or another rhino, but they don't walk backwards. So when you go for your goals or when you go for your objective, the way a rhinoceros will go for it, the only physical option you have is to continue forward until you reach your objective, because that's how rhinos work. Okay? So again, my name is Brian K McNeill, and I'm the sales confidence coach. And I wanted to share with you the books that I think make all the difference. You're welcome to read these books yourself, or you can take advantage of someone who has already read the books and has personally made thousands of sales in his career. In my career of 31 years, I have made thousands of sales. I really have. That means times where I've asked someone for money for something and they said yes. And I probably have missed thousands of them too. I did not start off as a great person. By the way, sometimes well-intentioned people think they're complimenting me. They'll say, Brian, you're such a good salesman. You can sell anything to anybody. You can sell ice to Eskimos. And I'm gracious about it, but that's not a compliment. The kind of person who can sell ice to Eskimos, water to people in the water, and all that kind of stuff, that's not a salesman. That's a con man. And selling is not conning. I cannot sell ice to Eskimos. I can only sell something that if the person buys it, they're better off. That's it. Something that helps their lives to be better because they bought it. That's the only things I can sell. And I consider myself a real salesman. I look at myself as a salesman and the way the word was originated. The word sale has two originations. One is Greek and one is Old English. The Greek comes from two words, sell and ye, which literally means to help. When you sell, you are to help. And the Old English comes from a word called salon, which means willing to give up. Are you willing to give it up? Are you willing to sell? Those of you who are believers who understand the tenets of the Bible, there's a proverb 11:26, that says, the people curse the ones that withhold the grain, blessings upon the ones that will sell it. That's in the Bible. Sell it. Blessings upon the ones that will sell it. So if they want grain, your grain is your intellectual property, your solutions. If they want it, they have to hope you're willing to sell it. And if you won't sell your solutions, if you won't sell the good answers that you have, curses upon you. That's how I interpret that. But if you will sell it, blessings upon you. So I appreciate those of you who chose to join me here. I will put in the link and a link to get my books. Okay. Again, my books are Asking for the Money. My books are The Shortcut. And I also have Why Rhinos Make Great Salespeople, featuring Mr. Randall the Rhino. I've also written a workbook that goes with The Shortcut, a workbook for The Shortcut. I've been a contributing author on a couple of other books. One of the books I was a contributing author, I wrote chapter 6 of 17 Legal Ways to Double Your Profits. And I have been featured in a couple of other books too, where they'll say, my friend or my sales coach, Brian McNeill, taught me how to do this, or Brian McNeill influenced my business this way. So I believe in publishing. When you publish and you are published, you become a subject matter expert. I will tell you, if you've not yet written any books, there are certain doors that only your book can open for you. You can't even get in unless you've written a book. There are certain platforms you can't even get on unless you have books to offer as well. Again, thank you for joining me. I will put in the comments links so that you can get my books if you enjoyed it. If you have any questions of me, put in the comments and I will answer them best I can. God bless you guys. Have a great rest of your day. Thank you for joining me.